Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Paul, and earlier you saw Lynn on the gun today. So here's a quick question for you today. If I were to say iconic movie pistol, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind? I know, it's actually too easy because there can really be only one answer, the Beretta 92. Yeah, whether you were John McClane crawling through his air ducts or Martin Riggs pulling off those John Woo moves, really, everybody I know in that time area wanted a Beretta 92. Now, fast forward 30 years or so, and that pistol is still going strong, especially with this latest version of 92X Performance. And as you guys know that have tuned in this channel, performance is really important to us, as that is the #1 criteria we look for anytime we have gear on the channel to review. So to see how this latest pistol holds up and where it falls short, we're going to take a closer critical look at it right now. So let's go. So this is one of those pistols that will get you noticed. The 92X Performance is the only 92X model that's made in Italy, and you can see why. Unlike their neighbors to the north, the Italians really understand how to make products that function well and look great to boot. Most noticeable is that black burnished barrel paired with the carbon steel finish that gives this pistol its unique two-tone look. Now, it's pretty easy to mistake the finish for a stainless, but this is Beretta's own proprietary Nice-Tin finish, which supposedly makes it easier to clean, but it also looks just really nice all the way down the frame and the slide. Outside of first looks, the next thing you'll notice is the weight. This is a heavy pistol. We're running optics on this setup, so it takes it to almost 3 pounds. A big reason why is that Brigadier slide, which is thicker and wider, even with its big cutout, than the other 92 series slides. So definitely not for concealed carry, but for competition and home defense, it's not an issue, and its weight actually helps absorb a lot of recoil. So this model comes with 2 flush fitting 15 rounders. Just FYI though, these are the older 15 rounders that you see here, as the newer 15 rounders come with a big rubber butt pad that protects the mag and more importantly gives you more grip length. It needed that since the grip is a little bit short with these flush fitting 15s. Realistically though, even though these factory mags work fine, you have a lot more options going with the Metguard mags, so be sure to check those out. At around $1,400 retail, you do get a fair amount for your money considering all the features you get out of the box. So just using direct feature comparisons, Beretta is already starting off strong. First, we can definitely see where Beretta got it right. Starting with the grip, 92 frames have been known to be a little bit thick. So this model ships with a thinner Vertex steel frame. So you have your choice between slimline grips and thicker grips, which is great. We decided to take it a little bit further by adding these Tony Systems silicon carbide grips and mix both thick and slim on either side for better hand fit. So along with the front and rear check ring, the relieved curved trigger guard, and the extended beaver tail, it's really easy to have a really good solid grip on this gun. And close to the grip, the next good addition consists of the controls, especially that ambidextrous frame mounted safety. So let's be honest, this is really where it should have been in the first place, because as soon as you see your thumb resting down on it the first time, you'll realize how naturally it falls there. The only thing I didn't like about this frame safety is it does stick out a little bit, so it gets in the way of manipulating the recessed slide release in front of it. So you have to go around the thumb safety to actuate it, or you just end up having to use your support thumb to actuate it. By the way, just for that slide release, you'll find that extended takedown lever, which does look very similar to one of those quote unquote gas pedals that you see on open guns. So if your support thumb was looking for a parking space, now you have one, and very much like your rear thumb on the frame safety, your support thumb can also play a role in recoil control now. Speaking of shooting fast, let's talk about that trigger, which is the standout. Beretta calls it their Extreme S trigger, but from a user standpoint, we'll just call it extremely good. Whether you're talking about the clean double action pull at 6 pounds or the crisp and light 3 pounds on the single action, this trigger will work for both fast hosing and distance targets requiring more deliberate trigger pull. It's even got a skeletonized hammer and a competition hammer spring, so you can even customize it further by adjusting the travel with the screw adjustments inside the frame. One last note on that trigger is since this safety doesn't have a decocker, you'll have to pull the trigger to start the hammer down for production division. All in all, I think it's one of the best factory triggers we've seen, so combined with its heavy weight, you'll have one of the lightest recoiling and easiest shooting guns we've had on this channel. So let's talk about that slide. From an earlier video with the TTI pistols, I'll link to it if you haven't already seen it, you can see that it's common practice to cut mass from the slide to increase its cycle speed and lessen the shock of the slide returning to battery. However, with Beretta's Brigadier slide, most of the barrel is exposed, so they go all in on it. I'm sure Beretta had to do some careful calibration on how much material they wanted to remove, but in my opinion, it's a little bit too exposed just for the simple fact that it's really easy to grab the top of that barrel and burn the crap out of your hand. You really have to program yourself to use the underhand method with these front and rear cocking serrations. While we're talking about that slide, the other issue we run into is optics compatibility, or more specifically, lack thereof. Admittedly, I think it may be unfair to expect this model should be optics ready out of the box, but given its price point and its competition, I think this was a slight oversight. This really is an iron-sighted production gun only, but if you want to shoot carry optics, there are some limited options. If you have this model, one option is to use a Tony Systems dovetail mount, but you will lose your rear sight in its place. We chose to pair it with the SIG Romeo 3 Max, which we reviewed earlier. I'll link to it if you haven't already seen it. We love this dot because it shares the same large 30mm glass as the SRO, but the dot is cleaner and crisper than the Trijicon, and it has less distortion on the edges. Now, if you don't want to go with a dovetail mount, I know Langdon Tactical does an optics cut for 92 slides, so that's another option, although it looks like it's a little expensive. Also, you can use the slide from the Beretta 92 defensive model, which is optics ready with plates. And lastly, at the time of this review, I just saw the Beretta released a 92X Performance optics cut version, so that's great news, and it's definitely better late than never. All right, we're back, fellas. So what's the final verdict on this Beretta 92X Performance? So if you added them up, you can clearly see the positives clearly outweigh the negatives. So no Glock perfection here, but still pretty dang good. So whether you're a USPSA production shooter or maybe you're just an avid Beretta fan, I can see you adding this gun to your collection, just because once you get behind that trigger, you can really see that this gun lives up to its namesake of performance. Speaking of which, be sure to check out Lynn on her IG channel. I'll link it below, where you'll see Lynn performing with this gun all season long. So that's the final verdict. Hope it helps. And if it did help you, please consider subscribing and commenting on this video, as it does really help us. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you guys again next time.